Buckle up because it's gonna get nuts. Steve Dangle here talking about the offseason, and producer Drew and I were talking, what sort of videos should we make right now? What do people want? What's the content that everyone just craves it? And we were talking about doing a free agent targets video. Who should the Leafs go after in free agency? And I'm gonna do that, but there's something that we need to do first. A lot of Leaf fans are having this conversation right now, and passionately, but I think a lot of people are doing it improperly. Because people want answers, right? Of course you want answers, but I don't know if everyone's asking the right questions. I don't know if we have all the information, and I found some of it. Because at the end of the day, who should the Leafs go out and get? What goalie should they go out and get? What defenseman should they go out and get? More defensemen? Are they going to be able to bring Bertuzzi back? Domi? What are they going to do about the core four? There's the question. There's the question. Because it all comes back to that. What the Leafs do with the core four is going to dictate how they behave over the next few days and in free agency. It's going to dictate the type of team that they have to put together next season. Are they going to run it back with Mitch Marner? Are they going to run it back with John Tavares? Are they going to run it back with all of them? And my least favorite one, because it's an incomplete narrative, hey, the cap's going up. Unfortunately, that is what we call using the truth to lie. Okay, here's the good news. Last year, the NHL salary cap was at $83.5 million. Is it going up? It is! That's great news! Next year, the salary cap is going all the way up to $88 million. That's an increase of $4.5 million. What could $4.5 million get you? That could get you like a pretty good defenseman, a bang up forward, maybe even get you a center, a pretty good goalie. What does it get the Toronto Maple Leafs this year? Nothing, and I'll tell you why. Both Auston Matthews and William Nylander signed extensions last season, and they're kicking in this season. I have it right in front of me. Last year, Auston Matthews' cap hit was $11,640,250. William Nylander's cap hit, and this one's gonna hurt, was $6,962,366. Really good value. Then, of course, rounding out the core four, John Tavares made $11 million, and Mitch Marner made $10,903,000 against the cap. Why was it $10,903,000? Because he had that really weird number that I think was $10,893,000 because it had to have his junior number in it, but then something to do with COVID made it so that they had to adjust the cap hit. It happened with Matthews too. It was weird. All that to say, last year, the core four ate up $40,505,616 out of the Leafs' $83.5 million cap. What percentage is that? You're asking the right questions. 48.5% of the cap. All right, wow, 1.5 shy of half of the cap. That's a lot for four guys, four forwards. That's a lot. Okay, well, the cap's going up though, so problem solved. No! The cap hit for Matthews and Nylander are going up. Matthews by a bit, Nylander by a lot. This season, Auston Matthews is going to make $13.25 million. William Nylander is going all the way up to $11.5 million from under 7. Oof. And Tavares is going to be making his flat 11. Mitch Marner, once again, $10.903 million. Next season, this upcoming season, for the core four, they will be making $46,653,000 out of the team's $88 million cap space. What percentage is that? It is just over 53. It is 53.01% of the cap. That is up from last year's percent of the cap of 48.5. That's actually quite significant. So, if you want to run the core four back, or if you don't want to run the core four back, but they all just decide to stay put, you are going to have actually 4.51% of the cap less to work with this upcoming season from last. You are going to have 4.5% less cap space to build around the core four than you did last season, and that's not even including the $7.5 million Morgan Riley banks. Because the salary cap is going up by $4.5 million, but the amount of money that the core four is going to make against the cap goes up by $6,147,384. So even though the salary cap is going up significantly, the net loss against the cap is $1,647,384. If you're wondering why I've been beating the drum so hard that the Leafs need to move on from the core four, and yeah, probably trade Mitch Marner if he's up for it, this is why. They can't do this again. Listen, if they do this again, they ain't going to be very good this season. What if they hold on to Mitch Marner and get rid of John Tavares, just let him walk next year? Glad you asked. I figured that out too. Unfortunately, we have to make a couple assumptions. Let's assume the salary cap goes up by another $4.5 million. So it goes up to $92.5 million 2 seasons from now. Let's assume the Leafs are able to sign Mitch Marner to an extension that pays him what William Nylander makes, $11.5 million per season. Pause for laughter. He's not signing for that amount of money. He's going to go for probably 12 or more. But let's be nice. Let's be generous. The new core 3, after John Tavares leaves, of Matthews, Nylander, and Marner, will make $36.25 million, or 37.95%, basically 38% of the new assumed salary cap. Wow, that number's way down. Yeah, that number's for 3 guys, not 4. But it would free up something like 15% of the cap and roughly $14 million, which is good. Now, I'm going to remind you, the Leafs have a guy who scored 69 goals last season, and you might not want to waste an entire year of his prime. But if you want to go that route and keep all the core 3 guys and let John Tavares walk at the end of next season, that's the route you could go. So, without truly knowing the amount of money the Leafs have to play with, because I think they're going to make a bunch of moves over the coming days, or at least they better, here's what I think they should go for. Priority number 1. I know a lot of people are talking about the goaltending, and there's a rumored Joseph Woll extension in the works. We'll see what happens there. The number 1 thing to me that the Toronto Maple Leafs need is a quality defenseman who shoots right. They never have these guys. Over the course of the Matthews era, who is the best right-handed defender they have? They still need to sign Timothy Liljegren to an extension if they're going to keep him. If they don't keep him, they need one even more. Who are the candidates for the best right-handed defenseman the Leafs have had over the last few years? Tyson Barrie. He's a free agent, by the way, if you want to bring him back. Justin Hall. Nikita Zaitsev. Marshall Rafai. Shot right. He played like a game, 2 games last year. Ilya Lyubushkin. There's a guy. Luke Schenn. He's already gone. He's in Nashville. Seriously, guys. Cody Ceci. Forgot about Cody Ceci. You can talk about guys like Ron Hainsey and TJ Brody, and Jake McCabe played a bunch of the right-hand side. All 3 of those dudes that I just mentioned shoot left. They need a righty back there. They probably need more than 1. Luckily, there's a few available. For me, my biggest target, you want to get better in the playoffs, Chris Tanev. Wear and tear is a concern. It's definitely a concern. Age is a concern. It's definitely a concern. But last year, Chris Tanev proved yet again this dude is a warrior and a playoff player. He was spectacular for the Dallas Stars. He made $4.5 million against the salary cap and $5.5 million in actual dollars. What's he gonna look for at this stage in his career is a fascinating question to me. Is he gonna go out and get the most money that he can? Is he gonna try to go for a championship? What's he gonna do? We know Brad Treliving likes him. He had him in Calgary, and Brad Treliving should like him regardless of whether or not he had him in Calgary. He's a really good defenseman. Morgan Rielly has never played with a partner as stable as Chris Tanev. Again, go through the list that I just did. They're not Chris Tanev. None of them. Not one. The other guy I'd be interested in, but I'm a little concerned about what kind of contract he's going to get offered, Brandon Montour. 30 years old, just won the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers. Usually, guys in that age range and guys who just won the Stanley Cup, they're in for a big payday. I don't know if the Leafs are going to be in that wheelhouse in terms of spending ability. 2 seasons ago, he had an absurd 16 goals and 73 points. That was up from his previous career high of 37. Last year, granted he only played in 66 games, he had 8 goals, 33 points. That's closer to what you should expect out of Brandon Montour. Worth mentioning, though, that in the playoffs these past 2 seasons, both Stanley Cup final runs for the Florida Panthers, last season in 21 games he had 8 goals, 5 assists for 13 points. In this cup run that was successful, he had 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points. He wasn't the primary defender for the Florida Panthers. They used that pair of Ekblad and Forsling really effectively against their opponents, but Brandon Montour was out there in a lot of important situations. And the Leafs have struggled to generate offense in the postseason. This sort of knocks off a couple needs. Oh, more than a couple. You need better defensemen, you need guys who shoot right-handed, and you need guys who can generate offense from the back end, which they didn't really have against Boston. Not well. So again, I think he should be a Leaf target. I just think he's going to be really expensive. And if you're like, all right, Steve, who are some of the bargain bin guys? Well, I'm browsing Puckpedia right now, and you're not going to like a lot of the answers. So I filtered it by guys who play defense, are unrestricted free agents, and shoot right-handed. I am so done with this lefty on the right thing. I'm done with it. Done. No more Brody, no more Hainsey, none of this. If you got to do it in a pinch, fine, but to do it on purpose all season long and going into the playoffs, no! I'm going to arrange it from the guys who scored the most from the guys who scored the least, because I know points aren't everything when it comes to defense, but we want guys on the back end who can generate offense. The top of this year's class in terms of unrestricted free agent defensemen who can generate offense is actually Brandon Montour, 33 points. Number 2, you're not going to believe this, Tyler Myers with 29 points. He's tied with Sean Walker, who the Colorado Avalanche paid a first-rounder for at the trade deadline. After that, you have a guy like Justin Schultz, proven Stanley Cup champion, little on the smaller side, but this guy has a lot of Leaf fans really excited. Matt Roy. 6'1", 205. Last season, he had a cap hit of $3.15 million. What does he go for as an unrestricted free agent? What would you think of the number 5? What would he think of $5 million? You might say 5, that's a lot. You're basically just going, here you go, and handing him the cap hit that you were previously giving to TJ Brody. After Roy, you go down to Kevin Shattenkirk. Maybe, he was all right for Boston, a little late in his career. Alexander Carrier with the Nashville Predators. He's an appetizing target. Chris Tanev is number 8 in terms of scoring. Then it's Tyson Barrie. We've already been down that road. Brett Pesce. I know a lot of people are really interested in him, but it already sounds like, according to the Empty Netters who have had good information, especially when it comes to the Devils, sounds like he's going to the Devils. Matt Dumba is an interesting target. I could see them taking a look at. I'll believe it when I see it. The other name that I really think could be interesting for the Leafs, we'll see what kind of money he's going to get, and if it's in and around the $3 million-ish range, maybe less, Yanni Hakanpää. Who cares what his numbers were? He's 6'7", 225 pounds, and he shoots right. Sounds like a Brad Treliving guy already. He's been a star, he's been a hurricane, he's been on a lot of really smart teams, so he's not just a big body who does big body things. Although if you're interested, I'm not sure the Oilers are going to be able to sign Vinny Desharnais. I don't think that number's going to be good. I think he's going to come in high. So those are my defensive targets. Obviously, I wouldn't mind the Leafs bringing back Ilya Lyubushkin at all, but he's going to have to be reasonable about that cap hit. If it goes above 3, I don't think I'm going to love that. Mark Giordano wants to keep playing. I'm interested in that as long as he's going to be reasonable. It's got to be league min or very close to league min. And he has to understand that he's not going to be playing every game. I don't think he's going to be playing close to every game. It's an 82-game season. You can easily get him into your lineup and get guys rest. And I think he's a good guy to have around, especially when you need extras. But he's been the oldest active player in the NHL for 2 seasons now. And next year, that's not going to change, barring a miracle. Is Jagr still a free agent? He is. As for Joel Edmondson, I'm interested, but it's got to be a reasonable number. And again, I don't know if that's a guy you need to play every single game in the regular season, even if you think he's going to be someone who's big for you in the playoffs. Now we look in net. What are the Leafs going to do in net? We know they're bringing back Joseph Woll, and the Leafs seem to have plans for Joseph Woll to be, at very least, the goalie of the present, if not the goalie of the future. They have guys like Dennis Hildeby, who had a really good season, a rookie season in North America last year for the Toronto Marlies, but you don't want to rush him. You got a Russian prospect like Artur Akhtumov. There's starting to be whispers today that I saw that he's coming over to North America. I think he's going to be really good. you don't want to rush them. The Leafs goalie prospect pool is actually not bad. Like, people keep talking about how the Leafs don't have much in the pipeline up front and on D. Yeah, unfortunately kind of true. In net, they're doing better than you think. So if you're not going to trade for a guy and you're not going to promote from within, who can you sign? Well, there's some veteran goalies available, but you got to be careful here and you got to be quick because there's not a lot. And the problem with signing goalies quickly in free agency because you think you're going to get outbid, you might make a mistake. Case in point, look what the Leafs did a few years ago with Peter Mrazek. They signed him right away when free agency started. 3 years, $3.5 million per. Oof. He's been fine on Chicago, but he was not fine on the Leafs. Here are the top goaltending free agents arranged by best save percentage from last season. Number 1, Laurent Brossoit, who had a preposterous .927 save percentage, backing up Connor Hellebuyck. Here's the difference. You're on a spectacular defensive team in the Winnipeg Jets, and also you're playing behind Connor Hellebuyck. So you're fresh as a daisy basically all season long. Compared to your peers, compared to the other goalies out there who are playing way more, even the backups around the league played a lot more than Laurent Brossoit because Connor Hellebuyck is always going to play most of the games. If Brossoit comes over to the Leafs, it's likely going to be in more of a tandem role because the Leafs, as Brad Treliving said at the end of season press conference, are somewhat worried about Joseph Woll's injury history. You're going to need a goalie who can play at least 35 games, if not split the duties altogether. Another option you could go with, similar age range, similar save percentage range, he had a .925 this past year, Anthony Stolarz. Brossoit only played 23 games this past season. Stolarz only played 27. So they're actually very similar in terms of how their seasons went. Brossoit is 31, Stolarz is 30. Like, you guys, like, if you don't get one, just go out and get the other. I know it's not as simple as that. There's going to be goaltending preferences within the organization and the coaching staff and all that. But there's another option. Weird option, and I'm not sure what I think here. Cam Talbot. Cam Talbot played 54 games last season, which is way too much, which is a theme that has followed him around at different times in his career. With the Oilers one season, he played 73 games. Despite playing 54 games with the LA Kings, he had a .913 save percentage this past season and was an all-star. Here's the thing. His cap hit with the Kings was $1 million. That's not going to happen again. Someone's going to pay him more than that. And he's 36 years old. If you really think Joseph Woll is your goalie of now and the future, and if you're confident in your goalie pipeline, I think Cam Talbot might be an even better target than Brossoit or Stolarz. Depending on the money, obviously. I think any one of these three goalies, if the Leafs were able to get them at a decent number, would be a huge victory for the team. In case you get outbid on all three of those guys and you don't end up making a trade, Scott Wedgwood in Dallas, he's put together like a sneaky, decent NHL career. I just think you'd probably like a veteran third goalie behind them. Martin Jones is still an option. Hey, speaking of Martin Jones, and this is a feature that I love about Puckpedia, which is going to be our basically our only option after July 5th when Cap Friendly goes away, is it tells you what players are represented by what agents. One of the most important numbers in Brad Treliving's phone and the Leafs front office's phone come July 1st is going to be Ray Petkow. Ray Petkow represents a bunch of players in the NHL, but a bunch of them, almost all of them actually, are goalies. His top client is Connor Hellebuyck, which is kind of ironic, but Justin Schultz is his top paid client who is not currently signed to an NHL deal. He's actually a UFA, defense, shoots right-handed. You might want to keep his number in your phone anyway. But beyond that, he represents Eric Comrie, just played for the Sabres, Laurent Brossoit, who just played for the Jets and should be a top target for the Leafs anyway, James Reimer, that's where I know the name from, Martin Jones, so he's already dealt with the Toronto Maple Leafs, in fact, this iteration of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he would have negotiated that interesting little bonus with Brandon Pridham and the Leafs last year for Martin Jones. Aaron Dell is another one of his clients, as well as Zane McIntyre. I don't necessarily think this is how it works, but I wonder if you call them up and you end up with two Ray Petkow clients at the end of the day in Brossoit and Schultz. Could be Brossoit and Jones, honestly. Lastly, what do the Leafs do up front? This is easily the most annoying one because we have no idea what's going on with the core four, which means we don't know what's going on with the whole rest of the team, especially up front. Is Tyler Bertuzzi coming back? I don't know. I'd like him to. I really would. Would you like him at much more than what he made last year, which was $5.5 million? I think that number for Bert is right right in the sweet spot of what he ought to be making. It's funny that the Leafs seem to constantly be tied to Jake DeBrusk because I see him as a younger kind of version of Tyler Bertuzzi. He's tenacious. He can score goals. He's kind of an odd duck. Bertuzzi's an odd duck. Like, that's not an insult. We love him, right? But he's a little odd. Max Domi is extremely important to the Leafs' plans going forward just because of how versatile he is. He can play either wing, basically. He can play center. He can play all three forward positions. He was on the top line down the stretch and into the playoffs. They need this guy, and he wants to be a Leaf long-term. At least that's what we've been told for a year now. This is his opportunity to prove it. I'm not saying the Leafs got to lowball him and offer him another, like, $3 million per year contract like he just played on, but asking for, like, 5.5 is too much. I don't think they can do it. If he wants some stability for the first time in his career in a really long time, a long-term deal with the Leafs at a reasonable cap number while he gets a lifetime of endorsements because of who he is. He's a fantastic player with an infectious personality, and his dad's Ty Domi. And I'm sorry, but it's relevant. Sons are not their fathers, fathers are not their sons, but Ty Domi's his dad, and they could do endless commercials together and make $1 million. One thing I will say, and this is percolating, Craig Berube's the new head coach. You should know that by now. A player that Berube has praised here, there, and everywhere. He's basically shouted it from the rooftops to anyone who will listen, dating back to his time in St. Louis. The Leafs struggled to score power play goals last year in the playoffs. And Craig Berube loves David Perron on his power plays. David Perron could be an extremely useful ad for the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially if they're down a right-handed shot on their power play, like they could be if they were to trade Mitch Marner. No, I am not saying that David Perron is a Mitch Marner replacement 1-for-1. That would be dumb. But it's an option, and I think it's a good one. So, what'd you think of that video? Who do you think the Leafs should target? What do you think the Leafs will be able to get them for? Let me know in the comment box down below. If nothing else, I think the most important takeaway from this video should be the situation surrounding the core four and heading into next season, which the Leafs need to try to contend in. Any season Auston Matthews is in his prime, you have to contend in. I don't think you can go into next season with the same core four and expect to be better with less money. I just don't. For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. I'm just gonna make a video probably, I don't know, later today. It's gonna be nuts.